You know, in Judges chapter 6, Israel got in great trouble because they worshiped idols. And we don't even think about idolatry today. We think it's relegated to something in the past. But really, the idols they worshiped are very similar to what we bow down to today. For instance, the god of Baal was the god of prosperity, you know, materialism. And the god of Asheroth was a god of sensuality and sexual promiscuity. And then the third one was the god of Moloch, where they threw babies into this fire to rid themselves of the baby, and he was the God that gave them the choice to run their own life the way they so saw. And so today, you know, I believe we can see that those still are being bowed down today. And in what ways has this affected our society or plays a part in our society, maybe even our churches? And what has been its consequences? You know, God asked Gideon to tear down these gods and that have been raised up, these idols. And so it required some real courage on his part to go there and tear that down. But he wasn't quite courageous enough to just blatantly do it in front of everyone, so he snuck at night, and he and 10 other men that were with him destroyed the idols. And so I think it's kind of interesting that God always asks you to do something, first of all, that's close by, but will always require courage. But notice what happened is that he did it at night, and the Bible says because he was afraid. And how many times in your life do you do things even when you're afraid? And then also talk about how faithful God is while you're growing in your faith. You know, when Gideon went out to destroy the altar unto Baal and Asheroth and other gods, the Bible said, tear down this altar and then build a new altar. And notice it's in that order. He must first dispense with, eradicate anything that was to another god before he built the right, correct altar to Jehovah God. And so how many times in our lives do we want to not thoroughly deal with sin or totally deal with the changes that we need to make and things that the Holy Spirit is convicting us of, and we want to just go on and build, you know, our own life and move forward without totally dispensing with and repenting of the things in our past. And what I want to ask is, how many times do we put ourselves in a position where we don't totally deal with sin, and yet we still want to try to go forward? And why does that not work?